little discussion period with both farms, and the idea being questions that might be posed to both farms. So if you have anything in your mind as this is going on that you'd like to ask both farms, maybe a more broad question or maybe a specific question, but one that could be answered by both farms, that would be the time to ask it. And then in the afternoon, we're going to do breakout presentations on maybe more in focus or specific topics. And what I think is really neat is that between these two farms, Beech Grove and Lakeview Organic Grain, we cover a tremendous amount of territory in terms of scales, approaches, products, markets. So it's really, we have a large conference and a small conference. And at the end of the day, one slight adjustment we're making, because it has been so cold, we're going to move the social time to just the garden room where you guys came in and registered. That's where we're going to be meeting, and we'll have some beers and some other things there, and we can just hang out there to end the day. Now, if you want to walk up to the garden, you're more than welcome to. But we envision you can see the sun setting and it getting really cold really fast. So that's the introduction and the welcome. What we're going to do now is we're going to start with the Nordells. I had first heard the Nordells at NOFA, New York in 2004. And it was because someone, I said, oh, what should I go to here? And they said, you got to see the Nordells. So that's where we're starting. And I will let the Nordells introduce themselves, but I'm really happy that they can make it here today, and welcome to Airlie.
You could have talked a little longer. Is my voice coming through loud and clear?
Can you hear him in the back?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we thank you for inviting us here. This is a wonderful conference. I really like this size of a group because there's so much interaction. What will make the day is you asking us questions. I think I can speak for the market there too. The more questions you ask, the better. I was also kind of excited about coming here because of the topic, culture and cultivation. It was kind of intriguing. And I think probably Pablo had in mind the particular culture of each farm, but I was kind of thinking about it in a broader sense. What would it be like for, say, an archaeologist 500 years from now, digging through the wealth of farms here in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast? And I was finding, what would they find? Because I think of organic farms as being so unique, so diversified. No one farm is alike the other. And well, they might find out that the traditional costume was blue jeans and a flannel shirt, or they pay tribute every winter to the seed god Johnny, or something like that. And I was thinking, what most archaeologists find are sort of remnants of materials or tools that were used by the farmers. And we're probably in a cast iron age, most of our implements are made out of that. But I think probably what the archaeologists would find as enduring is that we are right in the middle of the plastic culture period. It may not be what we want to be remembered for, but I know on our farm, unfortunately, we use plastic for flats in the greenhouse. We use plastic to cover our greenhouse, to cover the portable hoop houses we'll be showing you later. We use plastic in a spun woven form as frost protection, float and no cover. And probably the most common use of plastic on vegetable farms is as a mulch for the crops. Acres and acres of it used across the country. It's wonderful, it suppresses the weeds, it warms up the soil, and it holds in the moisture. So that, again, every farm is different. Some of us probably use very little plastic, some use a lot, but that might be almost a cultural commonality. that might be best suited, say, to plastic mulch for transplanted crops. What about direct seeded crops? Well, one of the other artifacts archaeologists might find is a few remaining books from the period. I don't know if any of you have seen this new book from Chelsea Green, Organic Farmers Business Handbook by Richard Griswold. I highly recommend it to you if you're starting out. It will kind of get you a head start on putting together a profitable business. And for those of us who got into farming without taking business 101, it's a great help as well. His mantra is, you want to farm for profit, not for production. It doesn't matter how much you grow and how much you make. But even so, he has a rather extensive chapter in here on production, because efficient production has a lot to do with your profit. And, for example, he shows how he plants carrots, 3 rows to a bed, and then he goes over to the flamer, and then rolling baskets, and then sweeps. And Ann and I were putting together an article comparing, someone asked the question of the cost difference between farming with horses and tractors. And so we went into a lot of the cost, but we also thought we should look at the labor involved. Tractors are faster than horses, so that's a component. And we put together the handout that some of you are receiving that shows
We haven't received it yet.
well, you don't need to look at it now, but I just pointed out the one farm is Richard Wiswall's Cape Farm, and then on the other side is our Beach Grove Farm, and it shows a budget for a quarter acre of carrots. And we wanted to get a hold of the picture of the way he grows carrots in here. To go in the article, and we called up Chelsea Green, and they said, well, you'll have to talk to Vern Goodwin, who took the photo. And we talked to Vern, and he said, well, it's fine if you use the photo, but it's not actually a Richard Griswold's farm. And I went, what? And he said, well, his computer crashed, and lost all of his photos, and so he substituted this one. But he said, it doesn't matter. All of the farmers in Vermont do it the same way. It's 3 rows to bed, a flavor, and then rolling baskets and sweeps. And I thought, that's incredible that you could just take the photo from any farm and it would be the same. Now, I imagine that's not how all you grow carrots, but it probably is fairly typical of vegetable farms to grow multiple rows of crops and use clean cultivation. The standard. The other artifact, I'm going to read these books here, and you're interested in looking at them. This new book by Chuck Muller on crop rotations that just came out. And the way they put this book together was basically by sequestering 12 farmers from Paul and Sandy Arnold's farm in New York for 3 days and picking their brains on how they rotate crops. And there's an incredible amount of information on the rotational principles that they use. But one of the stunning lessons learned from this is that none of the farmers have a set rotation. No one can say, 5 years from now, I'll be planting my carrots there, and my potatoes there, and this and that. And you can imagine it's just about impossible on a vegetable farm to do that. We're growing 40 or 50 different crops. Our markets change each year. This field may not be suitable for carrots, and that field may be. So to really come up with a set rotation, it's almost impossible. The other, I think, maybe common denominator for vegetable farming is the need for labor. And 2 biggies are picking and packing. They absorb a huge amount of labor. And right behind that is weeding. It's probably your second lowest. So maybe you guys have some other ideas on what someone would see as sort of our general culture for vegetable cultivation. By comparison, I think Ann and myself are cultural misfits. And I say that because we don't use any labor on our farm other than the 2 of us. We don't use any plastic mulch. We don't plant our crops in multiple row beds or use clean cultivation. And we do have a set rotation. So right down the list, we're just sort of out of step. And how did we end up like that? How did we end up so far out of the cultural paradigm for our times? Well, one reason is our location. We are not in vegetable country. We're up in the mountains of north central Pennsylvania. It's a very cool climate, zone 5. Before climate change set in, we typically had a frost the first week of June, and then again in the middle of September. It's not tomato and melon country. We don't have a big market in our area. Williamsport's the largest city. It's about 30,000. It's sort of hard to believe looking back at it. When we started growing in the early 80s, we had to truck from our small 3 acres all the way to a distributor that went into Washington, D.C., a distributor in Philadelphia, a grower's co-op in South Central Pennsylvania, the Ithaca or Trumansburg Flow Market. One little farm had to use all of these markets just to get rid of 3 acres of vegetables. Now, I'm sure there's semi-loads coming into all these cities. So I just bring that up to say that we didn't have a culture of vegetable production in our area that we could look to. It's primarily a livestock and grains. The other thing is our own personal backgrounds in farming. Neither of us grew up on a farm. After college, Ann was part of a large organic medicinal herb farm in the state of Washington. They started out at a 1/4 acre. By the time Ann left in 6 years, they're up to 70 acres of herbs. They're now shipping tanker loads to Europe. It's a huge operation. And their cultural system is actually based on the vegetable production system used in the I.mov Valley. And everything there was grown on 32-inch rows, single rows, 32 inches apart. So that's how they grew the herbs. It was all mechanized. We've got big combines to shatter the leaves off, work it that way. They use a set rotation because weed control is so important in herbs. Because it has to be medicinal quality. You can't go picking through it, to get the gallon soda out. It's got to be pure coming out of it.